Hello everyone, this is Remleiz from 40k Theories, and welcome to this newest episode of Adeptus Podcastus. Joining me as always is Tactica Imperialis.
Hello everyone.
Unfortunately, no guest this week as they literally had to pull out about 10 minutes before we started recording due to work issues, but these things happen and we couldn't get a guest within 10 minutes. It's a bit short notice, let's be honest.
Yeah, we're good, but we're not that good. So we have rescheduled them. They will be coming on the show at a later date, so don't worry, it is all sorted.
Yes. And also, you can probably hear my desk fan going, well, not really desk, but my tower fan going in the background, and I don't care because it's stupidly hot in the UK today.
It's been stupidly hot for the last couple of days, I tell you what, being sat inside a school where you're not allowed to have fans because it's a lab and thus the only fan in there is an extractor fan is just, It's been very hot last couple. I know there's going to be Americans going, oh, you Britons have it at 26 Celsius. Oh no, how do you ever cope? It's just like, yeah, shush, it's fine. It's really warm by our standards. But there was also a lot of fiery clicks on the Games Workshop website. We're recording this on Saturday, 17th of July, which means it was Orc launch day. The Beast Snagga box set came out and disappeared very quickly, at least on the UK store. I have unfortunately not been able to secure one. I went on the store at 4 minutes past 10, sat in the queue for 40 minutes, and then it was gone by the time I got there. So, never mind.
Go push yourself to the front of the queue next time.
I kind of had stuff to do in the morning, like have a shower and have breakfast. I didn't realise you were supposed to join the queue before the queue system was even a thing. I've not had to do that before. The only box I've ever had on a limited run that I've gone for has been the Lumineth box, and that lasted 3 hours. So
it basically shows you what people's priorities are in regards to elves or orcs.
I mean, yes, but also it's a really good box of orcs, and I'm not salty about it at all because, you know, it's a really popular box. It's a really popular army. Everyone was going to want one. And GW did the right thing in instituting the queue system. I'm not mad about it. So while I was in the queue, I went to a third-party store and just did a massive order of stuff to fill in gaps anyway. So I'm still getting a pile of orcs, and I've got my Ghazghkull sat on my desk in front of me ready to build. So, sorry, Slaanesh. Sorry, elves. You're going on the back burner for a bit.
Indeed. And so, in the news this week, speaking of orcs, there's a lot of orc-related stuff coming out.
Yes.
Yeah, so like we got the introduction of both, was it the kill rig and hunter rig, wasn't it?
Yes, so on the 10th of July, so about a week ago from our time of recording, there was an online preview held, the Octarius mission briefing. Now, we'll get to sort of the headline reveal a little bit later as we segue sort of past the orcs, but given we're on the topic of orcs, we'll do the orc bits first. So the orcs are receiving a brand new pile of units on top of some refreshers of classic miniatures. The first being, as Remleiz mentioned, the kill rig and hunter rig, a giant trampler squig pulled war machine that can either be built as a psychic piloted thing or, as I call it, Moby Squig, with a harpoon rocket launcher and sort of an ensnaring platform that can also be used as a transport.
Yes, it's a bit obscene, let's be honest. Well, insane rather than obscene, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot going on with these models.
Yeah, they are very busy, but I prefer the hunter rig like quite a lot to the kill rig, but I suppose it's a good way to get a Werboy into your Beast Snagga's army if you just build it as a hunter rig. So yeah, I really like the model. It is very busy, as is true of actually a few models in this preview, but I don't care. I don't care. And speaking of busy but I don't care, the Beast Boss.
Yeah, I love that his power claw is literally just a giant snake head.
Yeah, the model is absolutely amazing. I think it might actually be first or second for my model of the preview. Like, it's obscenely busy with plate armor, scale armor, an obscene mega chopper, bionic arm, a half power claw, half skull, as you mentioned, a targeting squig with its own remote controlled gun, furs, skin, bone, armor. It is super busy, but I absolutely love this model. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, definitely.
And the other war boss they showed off, we've seen variants before, but there was a mounted beast boss revealed with a named character variant we'll get to in a moment. The beast boss on Squigosaur, which was my other close favourite for model of the preview, because that chopper is absurd. It's got a magnum type slugger. And given that's an orc war boss, just to give you a sense of scale of how big that Squigosaur is, that's an orc war boss on its back, looking quite tiny.
Yeah. I love also how everyone's comparing these Squigosaurs to sharks.
Well, I mean, I can see why, particularly if you look at the named character variant, which is the Great White Squig and Mozgrod Scragbad, which we actually saw talked about a few weeks ago in a Here We Go article. And now we've got that in model form as part of the same kit. And they have very much painted the Great White Squig, rather than being like the Great White Stag, as I sort of thought it might have been talking about, to look more like a Great White Shark. They've really leaned into it. Yeah, they've definitely leaned into it, and the whole, like, a lot of the things being like they're stabbed in with the bloody aesthetic around the exhaust pipes and the bionics to show how crudely done it's been.
I also want to point out that massive props to whoever painted this model for that insane freehand tribal tattoo on the Warboss's shoulder.
Yeah, it's absolutely obscenely good. It's amazing. I actually think I prefer, design-wise, I actually prefer the Beast Boss on Squigosaur to Mozgrod and the Great White Squig. I don't know about you, but...
Mozgrod looks very relaxed in comparison, whereas like the Beast Boss looks like he's going charge. Yeah, and Mozgrod's just like, yeah, let's go and get the paper kind of thing.
Yeah, I kind of see what you mean, yeah. But there's a lot of really great bits because the Warboss and the Squigosaur both have unique parts separate to Mozgrod and the Great White. So you'll get loads of spares out of the kit no matter what you do. So there's plenty to look forward to for Orc players in there.
Yeah. I also got a preview of the new Orc Boys as well.
Yes, we knew Orc Boys were coming. We'd seen a Shooter Boy a couple of weeks ago, but we got a proper look at the new Orc Boys kit with the Slugger options, the Shooter options, Rocket and Big Shooter options, and then the knobs themselves. And they look really nice. They do really look nice.
I do like the knob kit with the double-handed chain chopper.
I prefer the Power Claw variant, but the Big Chopper is very, very nice, yes. And
new Devcopters!
Yes, absolutely. We do have to scroll back up for one thing. But after 13 years away... No, seriously, 13 years since Assault on Black Reach, when they redesigned the Devcopter and then never released it, GW has redesigned the Devcopter to fit more with the Black Reach style and actually re-released it. And they look fantastic, and they don't have flying stands. I'm so happy.
Hooray! No awkward wobbliness.
No awkward wobbles, no stupid curly thing that they sit all the blooming incursors and wind mages and stuff on. No, none of that. Actual just terrain stands and proper bases. Absolutely here for all of that. And they come with all the weapon options. The Buzzsaw, the Big Bomb, Custom Mega Blaster. You've got everything you need in there. Which is absolutely fantastic.
You gotta love how that one pilot's just holding out his chopper going like, fly me closer, I want to hit them with my sword.
It's Orcs, what were you expecting? But yes, absolutely. We also got a second piece of faction terrain. I think I've forgotten his exact name, like the Kill Boss Command Post or something, which is a Gargant. Yes, a Gargant's head turned into a command post and bunker, which looks absolutely lovely.
It'll make a great objective for a game, definitely.
Oh yeah, if you're playing an objective game or you're playing it in like an Orc settlement, there's more terrain for that coming later. You can really sort of build between a Mech Boy workshop, a command post, various bits of ruins and all the other Orky know-what's lying around. You can really make something really impressive at like an Orky settlement for something like Armies on Parade without having to do too much conversion work now.
Absolutely. Speaking of Orky stuff, like they also briefly updated the rules for the Morkanaut and the Gorkanaut, where they're now both Lords of War.
Yeah, they've been beefed up with more wounds, and the Ramshackle rule, meaning that weapons under Strength 8 have -1 damage against most Orc vehicles, which is pretty nasty in some ways because, you know, if you're relying on like auto cannons, which are Strength 7, I think damage 2, an auto cannon is now as effective as a bolt gun in terms of raw wound output, though of course higher strength is still going to help. It's just quite interesting as a rule. And they've done something similar with the Snakebite clan, that they have the -1 damage on all their infantry, which is a way to do things. It reminds me of 30k Iron Hands, actually, where they took like less wounds from low strength weapons or something like that. I forget exactly, but something like that. But that wasn't all the orcs that they've revealed model-wise. Hidden away, well, not hidden away, placed front and centre are the orcs inside the new edition of Kill Team.
Yes, Commandos against the Death Corps of Krieg.
I know.
Which is also the first time the Krieg have actually been released in plastic as well.
Yeah, it must be. So on the Orky side, you get a bunch of terrain, which I sort of hinted at earlier, and a brand new Commandos kit. And these orcs are absolutely amazing. So characterful. And they said they're actually trying to homage different like action hero type figures from throughout the years, like a Spec Ops Marine with the beanie from World War II. You've got the guy with too many knives, the guy with infinite bullets in Captain McSpray and Pray. You just picture going all John Rambo on it, and all that stuff. It's absolutely brilliant designs in here.
And the Commando Grot.
And a Commando Grot, yes, with a little harpoon launcher.
Zip up balaclava.
Yeah. And something, I saw Kyrioth's video on it, and the detailing on the burner boy, how like their entire, like all their hands and arms are burned horrifically.
Oh, yeah, that's a nice touch.
Yeah, I don't know how much of that is paint and how much of it is sculpt, but it is an absolutely fantastic touch.
I also love
Kyrioth pointed out. And wearing an oven glove, yeah. They've also introduced some new weapons, like a Breacher Boy, which is the one with the sort of spike-plated cannon thing, which I believe is a Breacher. And there's some new like little variants on different weapon designs. Like that's the first time I've ever seen a slugger with a scope on it for the knob. And it looks slightly different to a big shooter for the one with the infinite Daka. It looks very different to a standard big shooter. And there's the gun that's, I can't decide if it's a heat coil induction melter weapon. I can't quite tell what it is, but it looks really cool nonetheless.
Could be just like an Orky version of a plasma gun or something.
That's the custom Mega Blaster, typically.
Could be a version of that. He's got a big power pack on his back as well, hasn't he? So
true. It'd be a major redesign to the custom Mega weapons, because we've seen pistol and blaster in cannon variants of them.
You can always argue it's just, the version done by that particular orc, because that all orc equipment's supposed to be, unique.
Oh, yeah,
in a way.
Absolutely. If it's a custom Mega Blaster, sign me up. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's maybe some sort of, mini melter type weapon, because the orcs don't have an equivalent to the melter gun. So maybe that? I don't know.
Maybe.
And as for the Death Corps, a lot of people lost their mind when the Kill Team trailer dropped the day before the preview. It actually dropped the trailer on the Friday and then did the models on the Saturday. Everyone lost their minds over plastic Death Corps.
I don't know if this was going to mean that we're going to get a full-on plastic Death Corps range, or if it's just going to be limited to Kill Team. It's probably going to be the latter, in all honesty. Especially considering that they're still selling the Forge World stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting, because there's sort of 2 or 3 different routes they could go down here. Option 1 is to create a separate codex for the Death Corps, because at the moment they don't have any rules within the Astra Militarum Codex, because they're a Forge World army. So they may give them...
They've got like a regimental appendix in that Imperial Armour book for 9th edition, haven't they, though?
True. So option 1 is you continue with that and just add more models in and just keep them under Forge World's banner. Option 2 is you take them out and make them their own separate sub-faction under GW's banner and maybe leave some of the unique models like the Death Riders under Forge World. So GW handles making more guardsmen, making heavy weapon teams, making Russ upgrade kits. And then Forge World has the unique units. Or, of course, there is the nuclear option where they just take them off Forge World entirely and just make them a GW product going forward. I really don't know what they'll do.
Yeah. It's probably a bit too early to say at this point, but I personally think they're going to keep them on Forge World for a good while at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's certainly short term. I think that's pretty probable.
Yeah. Though briefly speaking of Forge World, just because it's a great segue to talk about Forge World, even though it's not related to the Octarius preview, there was a little mistake that made by Forge World recently, because someone bought the Malagus model and got a completely different one that's not actually been revealed yet. It looks like a Sons of Horus Praetor.
Yeah. Not sure how that happened.
I mean, it's not the first time that's happened, considering, like, there was that incident where someone bought, like, they bought something and they got, like, the new Orc limited edition model, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so.
Or something to that effect.
I mean, it does happen. Things get misboxed or something like that. It does happen. It's not a big...
It does look kind of interesting, though. Basically, it looks like it's got like a Volkite pistol and like I think maybe a Power Fist. It's a bit hard to tell from the screenshot.
Yeah, because someone has assembled it and tried to work out how it goes together. And it does look pretty nice. Very skinny. It feels really skinny. Or like really bulky at the shoulder.
Yeah. It seems to be a little bit of a... going through GW's upscaling phase with the older Marine models. I tried to reproportion the limbs somewhat.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, we'll see if it ends up being revealed soon. Now that it's out there on the ether waves, maybe GW will just think, okay, it's out there now. We may as well, reveal it since it'll take us 10 minutes to write an article.
It's got to wait for someone to paint it, I imagine, though.
True.
But yes, going back to Octarius, which is what the skill team version is, this also leads into Warzone Octarius.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to feel about the Warzone books because I haven't bought one yet. To be honest, I've been really glad the Orcs have come along when they have because I have had no reason to engage with 9th edition whatsoever. I just haven't been bothered to engage with 9th edition. And I think Psychic Awakening, for as good as the models were, I feel that Psychic Awakening burned me out a bit because nothing happened. There were a lot of them and nothing happened.
I mean, in fairness with the Psychic Awakening books, we did get the return of Ephrael Stern. That's something good, at least.
I mean, yeah, a few characters came back, but what did they actually do? Like, Blood of Bar with Mephiston just ended another stalemate. Shadow Sun and the Greater Good ended in another stalemate. Ragnar and Ghazghkull killed each other, came back to life, and are just going to go and fight again later. Another stalemate. And that's just the problem that Psychic Awakening had. And I've been really, because I haven't seen anyone who does like coverage of the news reporting on the big lore reveals and the big progression of the plot inside the Warzone books, if they haven't been for an army that I play, I've not engaged with them at all. Like, what happened in Warzone Metallica? What's going to happen? What's been happening in Warzone Sheridan up to now? Because the new one's just about out. What's been happening? I don't know. No one seems to be talking about it.
I couldn't tell you what happened in Sheridan Book 2 because my copy literally came today, so I haven't had a chance to read it yet. So I couldn't.
Oh no, it's fine. I wasn't asking you to tell me. It's just I don't feel like they've done anything with... They seem to have fallen back into, okay, we move the plot once an edition, and then we'll keep it there. Everything else is just stalemate, stall, move the plot. You
forget that in this edition, they've actually moved the plot backwards. Remember, all the stuff moving forward, like, hey, 8th edition, we're actually in, in 150 M42. No, pull that back. Too far.
Yeah, exactly. I just haven't seen a reason to engage. I will buy the Octarius book because it's going to have orc stuff in it, but I'm only buying it because I want to check what the new orc rules are. I'm not, as much as I love Octarius as a war zone, and the trailer talks about damn you Cryptman and all this, that, the other, I just have a horrid feeling it's just going to end in another stalemate.
I mean, it did in the lore, didn't it? The Orcs and it's just beating the crap out of each other, literally, and they're still ongoing to this day kind of thing.
Well, the plot they've updated it now that they're both strong enough that they're trying to break out, and the Imperium's made something called the Cordon Impenetra, where they're basically evacuating Octarius and just saying, you shall not pass to the Tyranids and the Orcs. I think that's sort of what the trailer was implying.
Right. We'll see how it plays out anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, there was a little teaser thrown in right at the end of the Octarius preview.
Speaking of
the
trailers.
Black Templars are back.
Yes, the question is, however, does this mean they're going to get a codex supplement, or is it just going to be another tease for yet another campaign book? Or even a box set down the future?
I want this to be a new codex. Like, get them out of the Space Marine Codex because they're too unique to be in there. They've really fitted uncomfortably alongside the Space Marine Codex for the last 3 editions. Whereas in the 3rd edition, they felt really unique. Or their 3rd edition book that lasted them through to 6th. They felt really unique with the Neophyte squads and the Initiates.
They mean their 4th edition book.
Was it 4th, not 3rd? Sorry.
Yeah, it's in 3rd edition. They had unique rules in 3rd edition, but only as part of the Armageddon Codex.
Sorry, my bad. 4th edition book then. So since that, in that codex, because they had the Sword Brethren, and they had unique Terminators, and they had the unique way they did their infantry, they were the only ones with the Land Raider Crusader, and all this, that, and the other. And they had so much unique weaponry and rules, and the Chaplain rules and all that. They felt really unique.
The Crusader squads as well?
Yeah, that too. So I don't think they fitted in very nicely alongside the Codex compliant chapters because they are the least Codex compliant chapter, arguably, other than the Space Wars, and even that's up for debate. So, yeah, new Codex, please.
It would be nice if, because one thing I did like about 8th edition is when we got unique Codex supplements for some of the big name chapters. We didn't get Black Templar specifically. But we did get unique codex supplements for, Raven Guard, Salamanders, White Scars, It'd just be nice to get some more things like that for some of the more unique chapters. I know we're never going to get it, but one day I would love to have, say, a unique codex supplement for Cursed Founding chapters. Special rules, things like, the Black Dragons or, the Flame Falcons, for example.
I think the best hope for that is actually the Index Astartes in White Dwarf, because they do that quite a lot. Like the Spears of the Emperor have one, the Tome Keepers, the new White Dwarf chapter, they have one, I think.
I'll be honest, I completely forgot the Tome Keepers were even a thing.
Yeah, I only know because I buy White Dwarf for the regular. But yeah, I think your best hope for those sorts of chapters is an Index Astartes article where it's 3 or 4 pages of lore. The Exorcist got one as well. 3 or 4 pages.
About the bloody Exorcists and the
I know, but I'm just making the point that these things exist. 3 or 4, 5, 6 pages of lore, 2 or 3 unique pages of rules to tack on to the Space Marine Codex. It's not a lot, but it's something to give them a unique flavour. The Black Templars need more than that, I do feel. But that's a route that things like the Mantis Warriors or the Lamenters could go down.
I'm pretty sure the Mantis Warriors weren't Cursed Founding.
Oh no, they're Bad Ab War. I just completely lumped them in with the Lamenters there. Sorry.
In fairness, Bad Ab War did have a lot of Cursed Founding chapters involved in it somehow.
Yeah. Oh
well, never mind.
But yes, new Black Templars, hopefully new models for Helbrecht, Grimaldus and the Emperor's Champion while you're at it, please. Thank you. We will see.
And speaking of new Space Marine models, Garen Crowe's getting a new model.
Yes. So we knew from a few previews ago that we were getting Grey Knights and Thousand Suns in a box together. But the Thousand Suns range is relatively up to date because they were a brand new army in 8th edition being pulled out of the Chaos Space Marine Codex. But the Grey Knights haven't had a new model since, I think, their 5th edition Codex.
Unless you count Voldus.
Oh, Voldus, yeah. Who counts Voldus?
Who counts Voldus? Who remembers Voldus, more likely?
I've just proved that point myself. And And along has come a updated model for the Champion of the Purifiers, Garen Crowe, and the Blade of Antwyr.
Yes. I've seen some people saying he looks Primaris, but I don't think he does. I mean, let's be honest, his height is mainly because of his tactical rock. I think they just redone the proportions to be more, proportionate. Yeah,
and they haven't changed his armour. Obviously, reproportioned, added a bunch of decoratives like purity seals and this, that, the other. But it's the same text engraving. It's the same patterns on the knees. It's the same shin wording. It's the same logos. It's the same everything, really. So I think it is the same armour. I think it's because the knee pads are not like standard Space Marine armour. People got a bit excited, but then you look at the old Grey Knights and they already do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's Mark 8 armour. So it... Oh, no, they have changed
the only thing that
bits.
I can see that's different is that they've added, a little bit of a shield boss onto his left shoulder pad, but that's about it.
Well, that's quite common among Grey Knights anyway.
Exactly,
Actually, no, I stand corrected. They have changed a few of the text things. I think that one says Valoris and that one doesn't. But the biggest upgrade, if you want to call it that, goes to the Blade of Antwyr itself, which has gone from a slightly black sword with a demonic pattern carved down it to full-blown chaos sword.
Which it was anyway.
Yeah, but now it actually properly looks
It looks
the
like
part.
it, yes. Also, is it just me, or does he, or in his bareheaded option, he looks very haggard, his eyes have sunken in, his skeletal, he's just very, very thin skin over the skull type of sculpting.
It's been painted as a proper haggard 1,000-yard stare type thing.
With very deep sunken eyes and, prominent cheekbones. It could be a visual representation of the effect the Blade of Antwyr is having on his physical body, which, if that's the case, that's a very nice touch.
Yeah, absolutely. We know lore-wise that Crowe, as the purest of the pure, is the only one who won't give in and use the blade's power. But it's still going to affect him. I believe he's got an entire novel, though I haven't read it. Two, sorry. Yeah. I haven't read it, so I don't really know enough of the details to know exactly what effect that blade has on his body and mind. But it is a really nice, if that's how they've designed it, it's a really nice representation. I
mean, going to the novel very briefly, the presence of the blade is actually physically painful and very straining on the minds of all Grey Knights within its immediate vicinity, and Crowe basically has it with him pretty much 24/7. So that's going to be very stressful. I suppose the best equivalent would be say if you have a baby that won't shut up and won't stop crying 24/7, and it's right in your arms all the time. That's basically what it's like. Tell the Blade of Antwyr, it just will not stop.
Yeah, but if you ever give it what it wants, it will take your soul.
Yeah.
So just add that caveat of "won't you just shut up" to if I let you shut up. If you shut up, I will. Does not work with the blade.
Also, I think this new version of Crowe is the newest model that still has a back banner, for a regular Space Marine character.
He's obviously the newest one because he's brand new. But
because the only other one I can think of is Azrael.
Sicarius has one, or at least his unprimarist form did. Tigurius, no, they took his off.
Wait, did Sicarius have a back banner?
The one that came out in 5th edition did. Or no, hang on. Am I getting confused between Sicarius and the one that was supposed to be Sicarius in Assault on Black Reach?
Hold on. He does have one. Yeah, he does have one. No, maybe not, no. Because apparently, if you go to Games Workshop, he still looks into the fucking queue, apparently. It's so I can't browse the fucking store to check.
Yeah, I'm just...
No, you're right, Sicarius still has it, yeah. Yeah, he still has it, surprisingly. Even though in his official artwork he doesn't, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's weird like that. It's very weird like that. Some he does and some he doesn't.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's I forgot to put it on that day kind of thing. Oh, well.
Yeah, and in Knights of Macragge, he definitely doesn't have it, which is the most recent picture we've seen of him, I think.
With his massive beard.
Yeah, that one.
But Speaking of massive beards... Sorry.
Okay, what segue are you going for this time?
The wolf time.
Ah, yes, that. Yes. So Dawn of Fire 3 is confirmed. It is called The Wolf Time. It is being written by Gav Thorpe. And it follows, essentially, the Wolves of Fenris must choose whether to ally with Guilliman and risk all that makes them the Valka Fenrika, or accept their demise and wait for the Wolf Time and the return of Leman Russ.
Do you know what's really bothering me about the plot synopsis to this? Because we've got a full plot synopsis. Well, like, well, not a full plot synopsis, but a basic plot synopsis.
It's the back cover.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's bloody Saga of the Beast all over again, isn't it?
I mean, it's Logan rather than Ragnar, but I do see what you mean.
It's like, oh, it's Ghazghkull against the Space Wolves again.
Yeah, and I'm going to read it. I am looking forward to reading it. I just remember the last time Gav wrote Space Wolves, we got Ashes of Prospero.
Yeah. So let's just hope Lucas the Trix is not in this. Otherwise, he'll be pulling some Bugs Bunny shit again.
I mean, to be fair, I think we're being a little bit derogatory there in terms. Obviously, not everyone likes Ashes of Prospero. I think this will be very good, and I'm looking forward to actually, trying to find a Space Wolf I actually like. That'll be fun, because I really don't. The problem is, it's entirely predictable. Like, obviously, the first one, Avenging Sun, we know about Makorta Sound. We know the Imperium wins at Makorta Sound. But the only character that matters is Guilliman. No one else was safe. No one else was unexpendable. And there was no real detail of how Makorta Sound went.
Yeah.
In this instance, we have to assume this takes place before Saga of the Beast, because, this is probably around the time of Primaris. Well, I don't know, because it says depleted by demands on their warriors called upon by Guilliman. So maybe they have Primaris already, but it seems to assume that it is before Saga of the Beast, and thus we know that if the decision is... hang on, no, I'm probably way overthinking this, because who is this ancient rival? It's probably not Guilliman. Who might that be?
It's probably the Dark Angels, let's be honest.
But why would allying with the Dark Angels risk all that makes them the Space Wolves?
Well, remember what happened in Fury of Magnus? Or Wrath of Magnus, rather. Too many of Magnuses, for fuck's sake. Fury of Magnus was Horus Heresy, Wrath of Magnus was 40k.
Yeah, true. But we will see.
Because they're like, hey, Fenris got invaded by demons. That means we're going to have to purge your entire population. Have fun.
Good point. And it's nice on the cover, actually. We can see some Fenrisian tribesmen up front. I quite like that. Or initiates who are not full Space Wolves yet. I quite like that they've chosen to include that detail.
Yeah. Actually, the Ancient Rival could also be the Inquisition or the Grey Knights.
Yeah.
They have a lot of rivals. The Space Wolves have pissed off a whole bunch of people, let's be bloody honest.
Yes, they have. So
we will be the fucking ecclesiarchy for all we know, but hey.
Yeah, we'll see exactly how it shakes out, exactly where it's set in the timeline relative to, for example, Saga of the Beast.
Oh, in regards to Primaris, the actual cover actually has them with Primaris on the cover, so...
Yeah, so they must have Primaris by now.
Exactly.
Yeah, sorry, I went on a train of thought and then completely realised, hang on, Tactica, your train of thought's a pile of rubbish, back up. But it was too late, so I just had to keep going. We will see, though.
I hope no one notices.
Until I get called out on it. Yes, we will see exactly what the Wolf Time brings for the Space Wolves and the Orcs as well, given that Ghazghkull will probably be in the background. He might not be showing up, but he'll be in the background.
I'll say this now. Just because it's called the Wolf Time doesn't mean Leman Russ is turning up. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, and just because it makes a mention of waiting for the return of their own Primarch doesn't mean Leman Russ is coming back.
They've been waiting for the return of their Primarch for 10,000 years. They can wait a little longer.
Yeah, absolutely. But speaking of ancient things that is coming back, I know I'm completely going off on a sidetrack. Age of Sigmar's bringing back the Draconids, which are an ancient race of dragon creatures that spawn from Dracothian. And they're going to be given to Sigmar, and that means we might get a new race of Order Dragons, which I'm really, really down for. Yes, please.
So basically it's going to be like a good guy version of Gargants in a way.
Maybe, because there's a story they released, because Kragnos killed all the Draconists, but the Seraphon basically safeguarded a few eggs, and eons later they managed to hatch a few, and they're going to go give them to Sigmar. So that should be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing where that plotline goes.
Hi, yes. Sigmar, have a puppy!
By the way, the puppy's a massive race of ancient dragons that were wiped out by the god of earthquakes a few eons ago. Hope you keep up. Bye!
I still think it's such a very weird thing to be the god of. I am the god of earthquakes. It's a very niche market for godhood, isn't it?
I mean, to be honest, he's probably not actually... He's not a god beast. He's just a... I've forgotten the name of his species. I really should have looked this up before I started this train of thought.
Which is called the centaur for Siggies.
Yeah, he's part of this centaur race. I think it's like the Ghazghkull or something. I forget. Who was just so warlike and basically just didn't get on with the easy peace between the different races and just went on a rampage and got bigger and bigger because Gur is Gur and Gur plays by orc logic. And eventually, the ground cracked beneath his feet. He got so powerful, and so it triggered earthquakes, and that's why he became known as the god of earthquakes, because he's just so big and powerful and stompy. Like, he can't just have he doesn't have a magic power to cast an earthquake or a shooting attack that cracks the earth. He causes earthquakes wherever he goes because he's so freaking huge and stompy.
I remember when Mazdamundi actually had magic spells to cause earthquakes because he had the unique Geomancer spell set.
The Skaven had it too in Crack's Call. They still do.
This was back in 5th edition Fantasy.
Yeah,
back when Mazdamundi was riding into battle on a Stegodon.
Oh, he was still doing that in 8th edition.
Oh, that's good at least.
He was doing that right to the end. But yeah, minor AOS segue. And the other thing, just as a pick PSA, I think Dominion is finally gone. They definitely made enough of Dominion, which is good. And just like Indomitus, they have released mini starter sets of different sizes, so you can get bits of Dominion and some terrain in a little board on the cheap. So you've got the Warrior Edition with the boys and a boss versus some Invictors and a hero. I think it's the Knight. Which knight is it? The Knight Arcanum, that's the one. The Harbinger set, which adds in some more Invictors and a beefier hero, as well as the Hobgrots and the Swampcaller Shaman instead of the Killer Boss. And then the Extremis set, which comes with some actual terrain, which looks really nice, and adds in both those heroes and the bodyguards, I think it is. And for the Oryx, you also get... I can't tell at a glance. I'd need to look a bit more closely, but it is what it is. It exists. There are new starter boxes. Yay.
Oh, and one last thing. For Blood Bowl, you can now order Frankenstein.
Excellent.
And before people say, Frankenstein was the name of the doctor, not the monster. So, yes, we know.
Yes, whoop. There's been a few different bits and bobs come out, sort of in between all the big pile of orcs and orcs and orcs and orcs and orcs and orcs, orcs.
What about the orcs, though?
But probably the most significant release, arguably, this week is White Dwarf 466. You might be surprised at why I'm saying that. It's because Jervis Johnson, the legendary Jervis Johnson, one of the lead designers at Games Workshop, through the decades and a major contributor to the settings and the gameplay of many systems, is leaving. He's either retiring from the hobby or from Games Workshop in some way. He is leaving.
I think he is retiring, yeah, because he's been doing this for over 38 years.
Which is a lot.
A very long time, and impressive they stuck with the company for over 38 years, so good on you, Jervis.
He's probably been there from day one, if it's been that long.
Yeah.
Yeah, he probably wrote the original Warhammer Fantasy, or certainly contributed. So, White Dwarf 466 will have a bunch of throwback Jervis segments. The J-Files, which is, I used to know it as Standard Bearer when I got into the hobby, but obviously back in the day it was known as the J-Files because GW couldn't stop ripping people off. You've got a Temporal Distort looking back at old battle reports. And a bit
his
of a
career
reflection.
timeline as well.
Yeah, from Phil Kelly. Way back in the mists of time, a celestial being known as Jervis Johnson was born in 1959. Diddly diddly dee. The early GW years, Jervis didn't join GW until a few years later. Anyway, yeah. So I don't think he's been there from day one of GW, but he certainly had a hand in a lot of things.
Yeah, it shows like, well, he worked on the original 40k, looks like.
But Fantasy came first, so...
Yeah. It's like his first game looks like it was the second edition of Blood Bowl, and then first edition 40k.
Yeah, Road Trader. And we've got White Dwarf, Adeptus Titanicus, Space Marine. That's a game I don't know.
It was basically like, if I recall, it was a bit of a board game. It was like a Horus Heresy board game, if I recall correctly. This is not to be confused with the epic version of Space Marine. This is like the version that came out literally like shortly after the original Adeptus Titanicus, which was the original epic.
Yeah, Advanced Hero Quest, Advanced Space Crusade, something called the Crystal Maze, Blood Bowl Companion, Crunch, whatever that is.
That was like they brief. Oh, you're probably way too young to remember this, but basically back in the midst of time, Games Workshop released like a bunch of like mini box set board game type things. Like that was also had things like Space Fleet, and I think there's like a Space Marine game about the Ultramarines as well. Oh God, what was it called? It's probably called something like Ultramarines or something like that, wasn't it?
Possibly.
But yeah. Also the combat cards and 4th edition fantasy. So yeah. For someone who's been working on 40k in some capacity since the very beginning of 40k, Mr. Jervis Johnson, we salute you.
Absolutely. Thank you for all of your contributions down the years. I'm sure many hobbyists owe a lot.
Also, I completely forgot he was the basis for the character of Jim in Blood Bowl.
Fair enough. But I know we've obviously been having a bit of a reflection, looking back and looking forward. There's been a small, well, not a small thing, a thing that's gone on in the last couple of weeks since the last episode that I think bears talking about, sort of a two-part thing regarding content, third-party creators and GW. So a animator by the name, I think it's Sodaz, had been invited to work for GW or something like that and had chosen not to. I think. I haven't really got all the context. And essentially the backlash that they received has essentially caused them to withdraw from the community. I don't know how much you've seen of this, Ram.
From what I understood, Sodaz, to my knowledge, accepted the offer to work with GW, and then, to my understanding, people started bullying or harassing him. I honestly don't know why they would do that. It just seems very scummy to bully someone for choosing to work with Games Workshop. But, guys, we shouldn't have to say don't go and harass other creators. It's just not a thing you should do. You should go without saying.
Yeah. And obviously we wish Sodaz all the best if they decide to return to the community and get back to their animation, but that's their choice. But either way, I think the message stands either way. We catch some flack every now and then, but I think I catch it very little relative to a lot of creators because I just don't talk about certain things and I don't do certain things, but it's still not on. It's still miles away from on.
Yeah.
And actually something that's just broken, I've just seen in the last 10 minutes. Apparently, I don't know how much of it is, it's a bit of a too long didn't read sort of post from another creator who said that GW contacted them and asked if they'd like to work for them. They refused. And now all their 40k videos have been demonetized and their Patreon's been pulled. Apparently. Which, if true, is worrisome.
Yeah, because if this is true, it makes me think like GW's playing a very, very dangerous game in regards to, legal dick waving, because, couldn't that technically be seen in the court of law as, extortion or blackmail, work with us or we demonetize you kind of thing. Potentially.
In a most literal sense, it comes under like, what do you class as fair use? Because like, if you've created something as sort of a part, as a tribute for a product, and the company decides they want to bring you on board, then great. But I'm trying to think of a legal loophole where they could say, well, their content was in violation of was using our trademark without our consent. We gave them an opportunity to use it legally and they refused, so we took action. And I'm not trying to defend this. I'm just trying to think of what rationale they've got for being able to do this. I don't know.
It's very... Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this thing is literally just broken. It's a bit hard to kind of react because it hasn't really sunk in yet, if that makes sense.
No. I think it is worth saying that something like TTS, that is an overt parody, should not be affected because parody is fair use and GW can't touch that. I don't think. But the biggest worry I have is the effect that that things like these two events, either community-based or GW-based, will have a negative impact in those who are, say, hobbyists exploring a career in animation, or animators who happen to also like the hobby or are interested in creating something in this universe, will be very put off from doing so. Because if you do it on your own and you work and and it becomes popular, great. GW come along and say, hey, you want to work for us? It's a proper catch-22. If you work for them, then the community goes after you. If you don't, they take you down. There'll be a proper drain on new people coming through that aren't almost homegrown and scouted out by GW themselves through an applications process. GW essentially monopolizes the market potentially, where being a creator is no longer an option. And it just... I don't know. I think it's one of those things that we'll have to wait a bit longer, because obviously this has only happened 10 minutes ago by our clock. Obviously, it's been 4 days since this happened for you, the viewers. But we just need to see what happens, sort of catch up on events and see what shakes out in the next few days, because there's a potential lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
Sorry, didn't mean to drag down the show there, but I felt like that needed to be talked about, because if we didn't, then we wouldn't be doing our jobs.
Well, no, I'm depressed.
Sorry. So there's not a lot more to talk about on the news front. There's some cool rules for the orcs. I think we've talked about a couple of them. The coolest thing I think that I do really like is the introduction of Dakka weapons. Like, Dakka is now a unique weapon type. I know it might feel a bit jarring for some of you that I'm just able to change tack like that, but I can. That Dakka weapons, basically, I like assault, I like rapid fire weapons, but even more obscene. That if you get within half range, you just get more attacks. It's quite fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, that pretty much covers us for news. So I suppose probably, since it's been a few episodes since we got to talk about it for one reason or another, probably the place to go is into the books. Because the last time we got a chance to speak about some literature, we were halfway through the bat nonsense insanity of the Ghazghkull novel.
I would just turn this episode into the Orc special.
There's a new Orc Codex on the way out. There's a brand new pile of Orc miniatures. We happen to be reading the Ghazghkull novel. I mean, if you want to dye the thumbnail green and just call it the Orc special, then by all means go for it, because it's better than October.
Or January.
January was good because we got a battle wagon. It was never hyped up as a big thing. It was just dropped in White Dwarf one time.
That's true. Let's never forget. Happy October. Here's some Fetus Slash.
Yeah. Such a fail.
Right, so where did we get to last time?
Right, let's enter the spoiler room.
Yes.
You just talked about the Ogrin Psyche getting murdered, and not Makari, Makari's translator escaping.
Yes. Biter escaped, yes. Okay. So we're about to do the flashback in regards to Saga of the Beast, weren't we?
Yes, that sounds right.
We always find a way to come back to Saga of the Beast, don't we? We always come back to it.
Yeah, gee whiz.
Gee willikers. Anyway, right, so Makari's basically... It's a flashback in Makari's mind because the Rune Priest has basically doing, the Vulcan mind meld to try and get his memories because, as being honest, Biter's fucked off at this point. So we've got no one to translate for Makari because Makari doesn't speak Gothic. So, looking into Makari's mind, and Makari's basically crawling for all these dead boys, like dead orcs, dead space wolves. He's looking for the boss. Where's Ghazghkull? Where is he? He hears the sound of fighting. He can hear Ghazghkull and Ragnar fighting. This is pre-Primaris Ragnar, by the way, point out. Crawling through some ruins. He sees the two fighting, Ghazghkull's had all the hydraulics on his armor cut. He's moving very slow. He's wounded heavily. And Makari's like, oh no, the boss is hurt. Ghazghkull is basically saying to Ragnar, come on then, finish it, you wuss. Ragnar launches himself at Ghazghkull. Ghazghkull moves far faster than an orc should, catches Ragnar in midair, but at the same time, while he's crushing Ragnar, Ragnar's got his frost blade, and he's jammed it into Ghazghkull's neck, and they're basically just killing each other at the exact same time kind of thing. And then they both fall over, dead or mortally wounded. Ghazghkull's had his head come off. Makari's like, oh, bollocks. Then he looks up and the rock falls on him and kills him.
So that's Makari number 3 dead.
Actually, this is more like Makari number 17 at this point.
Oh, right, okay. So there's a few off-screen death Makaris. Got it.
Yeah. So we cut to another period of time. We don't know how long it's been. But the orcs are trying to find the next Makari because they're basically thinking, the boss can always bring back Makari, but the boss is dead, so if we can somehow bring back the Makari, maybe Makari can bring back the boss.
Yep, logic. That sounds like alt logic, yep.
So you got the Death Skull War Boss Bullet, he's basically going, you Makari? No. Smack. You Makari? No. Smack. You Makari? Yes, I am. Hey, it's Makari, he's back. How do you know you're Makari? I don't know, I just felt a stinging sensation in my shoulder, and then, I don't know, I just knew I was Makari. So, but how do you get the stinging sensation in the shoulder? Because something Ghazghkull has to, basically touch an orc touch a Grot in order to make him the new Makari. Turns around, Grot's got one of Ghazghkull's severed fucking arms. He's been tapping Grots with Ghazghkull's arm.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Just tapping Grots until one becomes Makari. It's like, hey, we got one. Brilliant. Right. You can help me bring back the boss. Goes into Grotsnick's lab where it's just full of weird shit, including a Squiggoth missing its head that's still alive. Because...
reasons.
Orcoids. And Ghazghkull's body is a new set of mega armor that's on his big scaffold, and he's basically been assembled to make him bigger. So Ghazghkull didn't get bigger for being fightier than everyone else. He literally just got put into a bigger fucking body that was stitched together, pretty much. Full-on Frankenstein's monster effect here. We're back to Frankenstein again.
Oh, so many circular references in this episode.
It's spin me right round, baby, right round. Anyway. And it's Grotnick and Makari basically have this conversation I don't like you, you don't like me, but we have to work together to bring back the boss. So what do you say? We're going to help bring back the boss? Okay, let's do this. Hit that switch. Full on, it's alive type moment. But as they're doing this, Ghazghkull's spirit is basically in the Great Green. And he hears Gorkamok saying, what do you mean you're dead? That shouldn't stop you. Get back down there and beat up some weaklings. Go on. And he's like, alright then, I'm back, because Gorkamok's told me to.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So they come out of this memory of Makari's, and because the ship that the Inquisition ship is basically about to arrive in dock to transfer Makari over to another, I think it's like the Imperial Navy. It basically was part of the bargain they had to allow the Orc onto the Inquisitor vessel. They had to transfer it over to the Imperial Navy for further interrogation.
Okay.
But then Makari reveals that he can actually understand Gothic, and not only that, he can speak it.
Right.
And basically says, like, the boss is coming, I hope you're ready. There's a beep beep, Inquisitor, what is it? A massive Orc fleet is just translated in system.
Oh, shoot.
It's like, so Inquisitor's like, right, well, obviously that transfer's not going to go ahead, we need to get the fuck out of here. Mr. Space Wolf, I've forgotten your fucking name, but deal with him. And Makari's like, I'm not scared of you. I'm not scared of you. He's like, do you know what I'm going to do? What? I'm going to lock you into this airtight, vacuum-proof, soundproof, psychic-proof room, and you're going to sit there. And he's like, so you're going to be quiet and you can't communicate with Ghazghkull in any way. Oh, shit. Clang.
Oh, door. Right. So hang on. Sorry. So, hang on. Makari's like a gene stealer and Ghazghkull's like the hive mind now?
In a sense. Either that, or it's more like the fact, like, you know, hey, remember that Blood Axe Orc that, you know, gave him Makari? He probably fucked and escaped. He fucked off, told Ghazghkull where they were.
But how did he know where they were going?
Orky know-what's.
Fine. Yeah. I mean, it's all logic, so anything goes. It's just like, I quite like the idea of Ghazghkull's using the Great Green to communicate with... I mean, we know he does it. He communicates with war bosses on Armageddon. In the Ghazghkull supplement, he actually does do that. So why not with Makari?
Exactly. And then basically that pretty much leads us to the end, essentially.
Oh. I didn't realise we were that close to the end.
I didn't realise either at the time. But yeah, that was pretty much it. But it leaves it very open-ended for a sequel, because Makari is still in possession of the Inquisition, or in their possession, rather. And we'll see what goes on from here.
Absolutely, and some poor world is about to have a very bad day.
Yes. But yeah, overall, the Ghazghkull book is absolutely batshit insane, in a good way. Highly recommend it. Apparently the mass retail release, according to Amazon, is not going to be out until January.
That's a long time.
That's a very long time. But again, sometimes Amazon gets stuff later than what GW does in regards to Black Library books. So it may be available on GW's site sometime, like maybe, I don't know, October, maybe. I can imagine it being released around October, on Games Workshop site at least.
Yeah, because that's about 3 months from now, so 4 months from the initial release. That seems not unreasonable.
Yeah. Because I think the most they've ever done from, like, a Games Workshop release for a limited edition to the mass market release on Games Workshop is about 6 months.
Yeah, okay.
Because this came out in, like, it was in May this came out.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So I can't imagine them going May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. Like 8 months is a very long time to wait.
Yeah, especially for a book that, whilst very cool, is very niche. And it would leave all the hype around the Orc Codex to have died down. Like the Ghazghkull Special Edition helps get people talking about Orcs again. Then the Orc book comes out, and then you leave it 6 months. I don't think so.
Yeah. Just having a look. Yeah, Amazon says January 18th, 2022. That's according to Amazon, so again, they'll probably get it at a different time.
Yeah, that's 6 months tomorrow. So
yeah. I can't imagine it being... Yeah. But yeah, after this, I'll be going through the third Plague War book. Godblight, yeah.
Yeah, Godblight.
So I've been working my way through that very slowly. I've not been reading that much during my time off, just because I've been really trying to distance myself, away from much Warhammer stuff in regards to my time off, just so I, focus on other things.
It's called time off. Take time off.
But yeah, so hopefully either next episode or the episode after that, I'll be hopefully about halfway through Godblight, so we can start talking about bits and pieces, potentially. But then again, I might move for something smaller in the meantime, like a short story or something from because I got a couple of some of the old anthology books, like from 2000s, like the year 2000. So I might try to go for one of them.
Yeah, well, it's going to be summer holidays for me very soon. I think. Well, this week of episode release is my last week of the year before summer holidays. So I'll get a chance to hit the books again as well, which is going to be a big relief for me because, I think especially now that I'm getting back toward 40k, I should probably, hit the books again. It's been too long since I really hit the books since Gate of Bones, really. The last 40k book I read.
Yeah. God, it's been that long.
No, genuinely, I've read Gate of Bones, then I read End of Enlightenment in a week. And I feel like I haven't really read anything else. I've just been go for the last so many months. I'm really looking forward to that break.
Fair enough. But yeah, we can probably come out of the spoiler room now, so...
Absolutely. Who knew that Kofi Kingston was going to win the WWE Championship Money in the Bank?
Well,
there we go.
He ain't going to win it back anytime soon, let's be honest.
No, but I beat you to the wrestling reference, so I'm proud of myself. I beat you to the reference.
For once. But who do you think will win at Slammiversary? Kenny Omega or Sami Callihan? Leave a comment down below, even though the match has probably been done by now, because it's actually tonight.
Yeah, and if the answer is Sami Callihan, you're wrong.
Yeah, but one can but hope, though. But anyway, it is going to be Omega. Anyway. Right. Shall we do some questions?
Yeah, what time are we? 1 hour. Oh, we've only just gone over an hour. So we'll probably get through a lot of questions, which is going to be nice.
So if this doesn't end up being a little bit of a shorter episode, we apologise, but let's be honest, the heat is probably going to be doing some weird things to our mind at this point as well, and if our guest hadn't been called to work, we would have had some stuff to talk about with them as well.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
C'est la vie, as they say. C'est la vie. I know
c'est la vie, yes.
I know c'est la vie. I was being facetious.
I know. Right. There is apparently a short story where Magnus asks Conrad Kurz if he can go to, and I quote, the library, and Kurz says no, then blows it all up.
Yeah. That's the gist of it.
What story is that?
I'll get the name for you in a second, but I remember it's the one we had Sevatar calling Araman a, quote, and I quote, patronising Terran shithead.
Oh, that one. I've seen that quote. I didn't know what that was from or what the synopsis of that book was.
The Abyssal Edge.
Right. Fair enough. Yeah, I'd heard that quote before, but I hadn't actually
Available
looked
from
out.
blacklibrary.com for £1.99.
Very nice. But yes, I'd seen that quote because it did the rounds, but I hadn't actually realised where it came from. The question actually then goes on to ask that, would it have been the same if Magnus was like with any other Primarch? But, I mean, it's Kurz. You'd have to basically have the Emperor there to be like, no, Kurz. Well, actually, no, the Emperor probably say, actually, no, it should be destroyed because it's got forbidden knowledge in it or something.
I suppose it would depend on what Primarch would be taking Kurz's place. If Magnus was working with, say, Dawn or Manus, for example, I can imagine them saying, no, we're going to blow up the library. If he was working with Lorgar, I can imagine Lorgar saying, fine, you got 5 minutes. It's knowledge.
Yeah. Or I think it's asking if Magnus was with someone else and Kurz was still there. Magnus has so Magnus has that conversation with Kurz. I think I'm trying to sort of unpick the question because it's not entirely clear.
I mean, Kurz would just blow up regardless because it's Kurz.
I mean, yeah, true.
It's you want the library, do you? What library?
Absolutely. This is one that I think I don't know the answer to. Were there any Primarchs pre-heresy that actually liked Angron and were friends with him? Or did every Primarch just, try and avoid him?
I'm pretty sure that some of the Primarchs felt sorry for Angron, because, holy shit, what do they do to you, kind of thing.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if anyone was actually a friend of his, though. I think the closest I've seen of Angron being friends with anyone was during Heresy itself, and that was during the Shadow Crusade with Lorgar, of all fucking people.
Which, to be fair, was Lorgar manipulating him.
Yeah. So there was that instance where they decided to hunt down some, Eldari Corsairs, and Angron was like, "Hey, why don't you join me, Lorgar? Come on, it'll be fun kicking the shit out of these aliens." And Lorgar was like, "You're right." Yeah. Never mentioned Lorgar and Angron being buddy-buddies, but that's the closest I think we actually have. Yeah, I think the closest you get from the other Primarchs is just sympathy. It's like, you poor mutilated creature.
Yeah, which is a bit sad, but also...
And you'll get that at best, and at worst, like, man, Dad should have put you down.
Yeah, you are an abomination and you should not be here type thing.
Yeah, I'll probably line it. Johnson's saying, let's be bloody honest.
It's probably a lot of them saying it, let's be completely honest.
Lion, Ferris, Dawn.
Mortarion.
Mortarion didn't like anyone, though.
Accurate.
But again, that's probably because Mortarion was an insolent little prick. Prove me wrong. He was a fucking prick.
Right, and staying on Primarchs. In the Primarch novel Alfarius, so the Alfarius novel, I assume, there is a scene where Alfarius and Leman Russ are at a banquet together, and Russ seemingly recognises Alfarius as a brother and asks what his abilities are supposed to be. Correct?
It's been a while since I read the book, but it sounds familiar, yeah.
Yeah. From what I understand, this scene takes place before Alfarius meets Omegon. However, toward the end, when Omegon meets Horus, it's implied that Horus never knew of Alfarius, and in fact, in the Heresy novel Legion, it said that none of the Alpha Legion knew, no one other than the Alpha Legion knew of the Twin Primarch. However, if Russ had met Alfarius before Horus met Omegon, and then Horus met Omegon, why didn't he put 2 and 2 together and work out that Alfarius that actually he was the one to find the Alpha Legion Primarch first? Like, why does Horus get up? I mean, revisionist history is why, but...
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of potential reasons. One, retcon. 2, there's an important thing you need to know from what I can remember of the Alfarius book. Like, the first and last words of the book are, "I am Alfarius, that is a lie."
I mean, yes, Alfarius lies.
Yeah, and the last words of the book is, "I am Alfarius, that was a lie." So you got to wonder how much of the actual book was actually true.
Probably none of it.
Either it was completely true or it was all complete nonsense, because, to be honest, when anything to do with the Alpha Legion is involved, you cannot take it as face value.
No, you really can't.
So, because don't forget, there was also that one scene where Lionel Johnson met Alfarius, because we thought that Alfarius was just someone called Alfarius, but ended up being Alfarius cosplaying as Alfarius. It's confusing, I know, but this was the Alpha Legion. Goes for the territory.
Yeah.
Because that was during the Rangdan Crusades as well. Which is like the first time the Alpha Legion officially revealed themselves to another legion as well.
Yeah, that sounds right. Well, it is right.
Because Johnson was like, "Who the fuck are you guys?" Like, "Oh, we're the 20th Legion. We've been deemed ready to fight now." It's like, "Who's your Primarch?" "We don't know yet." "What's your name?" "I'm Alfarius." Sus.
Dear
and that instantly dated this video.
No. Right. I'm going to sidestep the Godblight spoilers as I read this question, but though, to be honest, it's kind of a predictable spoiler, so I'm just going to sidestep it. Who or what Chaos faction is likely to be the next challenge for Guilliman? Because obviously we know in the Plague Wars, Mortarion and Guilliman is the big do-down. That's over. And we know that even from things like Plague War and everything else, we know Guilliman wins that war.
I reckon it'll be the Emperor's Children, because do you remember during Rise of the Primarch, when Guilliman returned, there was that bit where Fulgrim learned of Guilliman's return and taunted him psychically. It's like, "Oh, you're back, brother. Oh, nice to see you. I'm going to come kick the shit out of you at some point," kind of thing.
True. And they sort of run down the list of Fulgrim is marching, Magnus got trolled by space wolves, Angron's an unknown, Pert's an unknown, and Lorgar's chasing Korax around his house.
I do want to point out in regards to the Korax thing, that happened shortly after the Heresy. That was not a recent event.
No, it wasn't.
Again, because the character of Maverick proves this isn't, but anyway.
Agreed.
So yeah, I reckon it'll probably end up being full Grimneck, just because, like, you know, games like, you and I, we have unfinished business, bitch.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
So, coming up in 2 years' time in 40k 10th edition, New Emperor's Children Codex.
And all the people who converted their Marathi models into Fulgrim are going to cry.
Quite possibly. Interesting one here. If you could, not saying you should, if you could turn any guard regiment into a Space Marine chapter, which would you choose and which gene seed would you give them?
Let's be honest, probably the Catachans.
But who'd you give them?
Well, you'd probably want to give them a stable sort of gene seed. More than anything.
Not like the Catachans were stable to begin with, but okay, yeah.
I know, that's why you balance it out.
True. Yeah, true, actually.
Because let's be honest, if you want to give anyone a Space Marine gene seed, you want to give them ideally either Dark Angel or Ultramarine, because those are the purest and most stable sources of Loyalist gene seed.
True. There's an argument that given what they are and where they come from and what they're so good at, it might be riskier, but there's the option of going down either the Raven Guard route, because stealth hunter type thing, or going full guts, or no guts, no glory with the Space Wolves, because alpha predators is kind of their thing.
Then you got to deal with the whole Curse of the Wolfen kind of thing as well.
True. There are downsides to it, absolutely. Yeah. It's just, I think, like, if you wanted to trial something, like, not convert the entire world over, but just trial something, I'd do it with the Wolves. Full mass conversion, I agree with you. You go for something stable just to be on the safe side. But if you've got the space and you've got the population spare and you can afford to, well, you can't afford to waste gene seed, but if you could, you'd go for something like Wolves, because turning the Apex Predators of Catachan, well, not the Apex Predators of Catachan, but an Apex Predator type regiment in with the Apex Predator gene seed just works in my head.
I mean, it could be worse. You could be giving Sly Marbo Blood Angel's gene seed and he falls to the fucking Black Rage.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
So instead of him going, he'd be going, Horus!
Yeah. And then everybody dies. There's a couple of suggestions in the comments as well. Harakoni Warhawks with Raven Guard. Steel Legion of Armageddon with the Iron Hands. Bit on the nose, but it works. And then Krieg with the Imperial Fists. Again, bit on the nose, but it works.
Yeah, pretty much. Trying to think who else was there? I've forgotten all the fucking chapters. Like, who get white scars, for example?
What are they called? Mogul Kamir's lot. Attila.
Potentially. That would be very on the. That'd be very on the fucking nose.
It is very on the nose, but there's no other sort of. There's not a lot of regiments that rely on fast moving units. It's not a very guard thing to do. Whereas the Attilan Rough Riders, I know culturally it's too on the nose, but in terms of how they fight, relying on speed and officers leading from the front, is a very White Scarsy thing to do.
I'll be honest, I'm surprised no one mentioned, the Necromunda Spiders with Imperial Fists, because, Necromunda connections.
Yeah, but I think that it's probably because the laws. It's not because the laws obscure, but it's more obscure than most people are aware of. So probably no one thought of it.
You could also go Imperial Fist with the Lucifer Blacks. Terran.
Yeah, makes sense. Is there anyone you dare give something like the Blood Angels to? Is there anyone that fits? I don't think so.
The Woad? I've forgotten the full name of the regiment, but it was there's literally, in back in 3rd edition, there was an Imperial Guard regiment where everyone paints themselves as, in Woad war paint, and they literally just run around naked except for their lasguns. Give them Blood Angels Gene Seed, have them fall to a Black Rage, you've got a bunch of painted up naked people charging at you or screaming with vampire fangs, be like, what the fuck? That'd be terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, I know this would just be Scotland on a Friday night, but hey. How you doing, everyone in Scotland? Love you. Sorry.
It's fine. Right. Oh, there's also an explanation for, you know how we were talking about Clovis the Redeemer having now got a cyber companion instead of like a regular one?
Sorry, you cut out, say that again, sorry.
You know how we were talking last episode about Clovis the Redeemer and how his companion has gone from a bloke with a book to some cyber baby thingy?
Yes.
There's actually apparently a comic that explains it.
Oh.
So apparently the sidekick got corrupted by a gem that once belonged to a spider demon. So Clovis punished him by turning him into that thing, according to this commenter.
Fair enough.
Excuse me. Right. Since the warp relies on people's dreams, well, not entirely, but yes, close enough, is it possible that there are realms in the warp based on different civilizations' interpretations of hell? For example, Dante's 9 Circles or the Frozen Wastes, that sort of thing.
I mean, it's possible, considering, like, you know, there's, like, literally, like, hundreds of thousands of demon worlds in the warp, and there's also, like, you know how, like, basically, like, the big, quote-unquote, continent in the warp, the realm of, you know, Khorne, Slaanesh, Nurgle, and Tzeentch, all in together in one massive landmass in the middle of the warp, which is, like, one of the sole bits of stability in warp space.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's also smaller, quote-unquote, islands for demon princes as well. So, yeah, I can imagine, like demon princes from different races having, like, you know, their own realms based on their own cultural mythology kind of thing. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, GW did take that idea with Age of Sigmar and Shyish, because Shyish, it was made up of a huge array of different areas, which was essentially each species and faction and culture and tribe's idea of the afterlife. So if you thought that after you died you went to sort of AOS Valhalla, then that's where you went, and there was a place in Shyish for that. If you thought it was the fiery pits of hell, then that's where you went, and that's how it worked. Where each underworld of Shyish was a different society's vision of the afterlife. So I wouldn't be surprised if the warp, being the nearest thing 40k has to sort of a place reflected like that, because the realm of chaos in AOS doesn't really do that. I wouldn't be surprised if the warp has elements of that outside of the realms that belong to the four gods. I think that's certainly possible. I
mean, there are certainly enough aspects on the main quote-unquote realm of chaos, you know, the island of the four gods, or the continent, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure we'll call it the realm of chaos just for sake of simplicity here. That do certainly feel reminiscent of pieces of ancient mythology and stuff like that. Like, if I can just get the map of it real quickly. Like, where is it? Like, for example, you got, like, the 6 Circles of Seduction in Slaanesh's realm, for example, which is very reminiscent, in a way, of the 9 Circles of Hell, even though it's not quite the same, but it is certainly reminiscent, you know, 6 circles, 9 circles, you know, etc., etc.
Yeah, you've got, obviously, Tzeentch's Crystal Labyrinth possibly being a reflection of sort of Greek ideas of mythology with labyrinths and monsters and that sort of thing, I could see. Obviously, I know the Crystal Labyrinth has no monsters, but I know Greek mythology quite likes its labyrinths, so you could lean in something there.
Yeah.
Obviously, the fiery pits, Khorne, hello, lakes of lava, yes, thank you.
Also, one thing I'd still find absolutely hilarious, because the Realm of Chaos, the official map of the Realm of Chaos is the same in both Fantasy, 40k, AOS, etc., due to the presence of the Eye of Terror in the top right corner. I also find it funny that currently drifting through one of the realms is the fucking Bad Moon.
Yeah, the Bad Moon kind of goes wherever it wants in AOS. It bounces around the realms at will. So taking a shortcut through the Realm of Chaos at some point would make sense when it leaves the Rortal Plains for a bit.
Yeah, just seeing it currently situated in the realm of Celeste just makes me think, oh god, it's Goblin Slayer all over again, isn't it?
That's a reference I don't get. Sorry.
Good. Stay pure.
Sorry, that was a really badly timed yawn. I'm really sorry. Sorry, that is a reference I don't get.
Oh, people in the comments will understand that. I'm pretty sure. It's this way. It's probably something you should do best not to look up if you're unfamiliar with it.
Duly noted. Won't, because I thought when you said Goblin Slayer, I thought you maybe meant like a Godric and Felix novel I hadn't read.
No, I mean the anime.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Moving on.
Yeah, now you know. Yeah.
I don't know, but it's anime, therefore it could go anywhere. Moving on. Right. I feel like we've answered this before, but it does open up to a couple of new suggestions in it. If the Black Library, after the Siege of Terror, say, ran a poll or went to creators and asked for the next point in time for the next big book run, like, say, Siege of Terror, Beast Arises, Horus Heresy, etc., where would you go? So they give examples of the Unification Wars, or perhaps at the beginning of the Great Crusade, sort of you could discover, like, follow along with, sort of like the Indomitus Crusade book with Dawn of Fire, you could follow along and find the Primarchs one by one as the books go on, starting with the Emperor and Horus, and then building out to Russ and building out to so on and so forth. I feel like that's an interesting place to go, but it's probably best done as a short...
I'll be honest, I really hope they don't dive too deeply into the Unification Wars too much, because I'd rather have something still kept as very, vague and mysterious, like, in the age of myth before the Great Crusade kind of thing. Because there are some things that shouldn't necessarily be expanded on purely just to keep an air of mystery about it. Whereas there are some things that do have an air of mystery kept about them which should be expanded.
Yeah, because I know the one you come back to a lot is it the Nova Terra Interregnum or the Age of Apostasy? Yeah.
Because there's so much you could do with the whole Age of Apostasy thing, considering, it's, a very key event, in the very history of the Imperium. I mean, for one, not only did it see, the Imperium's religious reformation following, the Reign of Blood, but also saw, the foundation of the Sisters of Battle.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot there that can be explored, and I think it's me who normally goes to the Nova Terra Interregnum as a time I'd really like to see.
Because, I know I've brought this up before, but the only time we've seen anything in regards to the Age of Apostasy in a novel, from what I can find, is a single chapter in the Deniathos Soul Drinker novella. So a single chapter. It's an old book, a single chapter in a novella, and that's pretty much all we have. And that's right at the end of it with the siege on the Ecclesiarchal Palace. Wakey, wakey.
Sorry, we're not recording at a weird time. I had a really long lie-in. I'm sorry.
In fairness, the heat's not helping much as well. I'll be honest.
No, probably not. But
because how hot is it wherever you are at the moment? Because you're what in I don't know. I was going to say Newcastle, but you're not Newcastle. You're fucking
29 degrees according to my phone.
Fucking hell. Yeah, it's about the same here. Yeah.
Yeah, but you've got a fan. I don't.
Yeah. I've also got all the windows closed as well to keep the train noises out.
Oh, mine are shut as well. Probably just to keep the... But yes, sorry, we're
29 Celsius with 50% humidity. And I know everyone in Florida is probably laughing at us right now. So, you'll probably get chilly when it's 20 Celsius. You'll probably be freezing your bollocks off. Anyway. Cold at 20 centigrade. Oh, look up to winter when it gets -5. To which everyone in Scandinavia is laughing at us. So you think -5 is cold? We go swimming in that weather. Summer weather, that is. And everyone in Finland's saying nothing because Finland doesn't exist, apparently. Hi, Narina.
Oh dear. But yes, to get back to the question, I think we've answered it before. Yours is AOA, mine's Nova Terra Interregnum. But I wouldn't lie. At some point, I'd like them to do the Scouring. And particularly, with a book for the Iron Cage, a book for sort of the near Civil War that came about as Gilliman introduced the Codex. I'd quite like to see that expanded on at some point, but probably not for a big series.
Yeah, sure, yeah. excuse me. Trying to think what other ones because like if we don't touch upon it in this, because we might get it at the end of the Siege of Terror series. So I'm still holding out, but I'm still waiting for like a novel or two in regards to the Fall of Caliban.
Yeah, because like even the Luther novel didn't really touch it, did it?
No, because like the Luther novel started off, it opened up at the end of it. Basically with Luther being captured. But the only other novels I can think of that touch on it at all, there was the Eye of Ezekiel, which had a flashback scene to the Fall of Caliban, but that was being done by a demon, so take that with a huge pile of salt. And I think there was some stuff in the Unforgiven trilogy, like going back and forth to it, but wasn't really explaining it too much. But suffice to say, apparently the reason why Caliban blew up and the Warp Rift happened was because of what Azrael did in the present day. I've not read the book, so I couldn't tell you otherwise, but it sounds absolutely batshit insane if that's true.
Yeah, the whole T'Chulcha, that's a hard word to say. The T'Chulcha engine, time loop thing, what's it?
And apparently it is actually pronounced T'Chulcha, even though personally I would have pronounced it T'Kolka. T'Kolka's just easier to roll on the tongue.
It's easier to say, certainly, but
it is T'Chulcha.
Yeah, but then it's like Colchis versus Colchis and all that.
Catachan, Catacan.
Yeah.
Gilliman, Guileman, Ghouliman. That's the weirdest one.
Yeah, basically 40k can't pronounce anything. And it can't make its mind up on what it does want to pronounce.
It also can't science worth for shit. like, that's true, because, let's talk about, the law for the salamanders. Like, Nocturne, it's a very high gravity world. This means that the salamanders are slower than other space marines. No, that'll make them faster! High gravity fire.
It would increase their bone density and probably increase their muscle mass, as they have to support that increase.
What it would be like John Carpenter of Mars. Because John Carpenter, he grew up on Earth. Mars has a lower gravity than Earth, so basically, with his bone density and musculature, he basically became a superhero on Mars.
Yes, and then he came back to Earth and got squished by the increased gravity, but we don't talk about that.
No one talks about John Carpenter movie anyway, because it was a fucking box office bomb.
I mean, I've never heard of it, so...
Funny, it was actually it was originally a novel series from I think it was the 1920s or something. And
right.
It was a sci-fi series. No, not John Carpenter, John Carter. John Carter, I think it was. John Carter. John Carpenter was the fucking movie director. But yeah, the first John Carter novel came out in 1911. I would say this, for something written in 1911, it was way ahead of its time in terms of sci-fi tropes.
I mean, we knew other planets were there, but Kepler had done his stuff, gravitational laws were in place, so they could actually, have the scientific theory in place to write that.
It's just something you just don't expect from something back in the 1910s,
No, but then you got War of the Worlds is very old as well, so...
That's true. Speaking of which, Kira posted a thing on Twitter saying he was watching the War of the Worlds TV series, and I was thinking, there was a fucking TV series?
There was one on the BBC with Eddie Izzard about 10 years ago.
I couldn't take anything seriously if we had Eddie Izzard because I'm just expecting him to go I don't know, cake or death, down to that comedy in a big fuck-off room, and there's an elephant. I can't imagine...
Oh, no, hang on, sorry, I'm telling a lie. It wasn't War of the Worlds, it was Invasion of the Triffids on BBC 10 years ago.
Oh, that makes more sense.
That was the Triffids, not War of the Worlds.
I was going to say, don't record Eddie Izzard in a fucking...
No, it was Triffids. It was Triffids. Sorry, my bad. But there has been a War of the Worlds series recently, I feel like. I don't know where or when, but I feel like there has been one that I've seen mentioned on the Tinterwebs.
I know there was the shitty movie with Tom Cruise.
I don't remember that one.
Exactly, it was that bad. I'm pretty sure it was Tom Cruise or Nicolas Cage. No, it was Tom Cruise, yeah. God, that was a terrible film. Yeah, apparently it has a 75% rating. It's like, really? Oh, okay. No accounting for taste these days. Anyway.
Yes, we should probably stop getting sidetracked.
Yeah, I'll just say it would have been better to have Nicolas Cage in the role rather than Tom Cruise, just because Nicolas Cage is, absolutely hilarious. Let's not forget his infamous "Not the bees" line, or when he dressed up as a bear and punched someone out. Speaking of which, I need to show Nicolas the Cage engine later. Like someone did Thomas the Tank Engine theme, but entirely with Nicolas Cage quotes.
Oh, God. Right, okay. Remind me not to remind you.
Leave a comment down below to remind Tactica about Nicolas the Cage engine.
Thanks.
You're welcome. That was
right.
Storyline. Anyway.
Okay,
yes,
since we've made so many jokes about chapters with similar names, how do they interact with one another? So let's say the Scythes of the Emperor and the Emperor's Scythes are deployed to the same war zone. How does that go? Particularly for the Guard. Like, there's 2 chapters with the same almost name. It's like, the Scythes are coming. Which ones?
The projects go by colours, like, which one are you talking about? The yellow one or the purple one? We'll go for the purple. So purple Marines go there, yellow Marines go there.
Yeah, that's quite possible. Or they probably just go by commander name. So Captain X, you're over there. Captain Y, you're over there, type thing. Just to try and avoid the problem.
Captain Corvo of the Emperor's Scythes. I'm from the Scythes of the Emperor. Fuck. There's 2 Captain Corvos. No!
Oh, is there actually?
No, probably. I don't know. Probably.
For goodness sake. Yeah, that would just make things even more annoying.
Yep. I mean, let's be honest, there's about 17 Makaris. Because, like, in one of the... This isn't a spoiler for anything, no? Because in Codex Titanicus, for the old Titan Legions game, there was a Makari who was unrelated to the Ghazghkull Makari who was a grot vendor. He sold stuff to mech boys. And he also sold hot dog squigs.
Right.
The 90s were weird, yo.
The 90s were definitely weird.
I wouldn't change it for the fucking world.
Oh dear. What are your thoughts on the sales of Dominion? I just assumed GW made more than usual. Because Dominion hasn't really sold out, whereas Indomitus did. I'm just guessing they either realised how popular Indomitus was and made more, or they overestimated how many people just wanted new shiny Stormcast. One of the two. Because they are very nice, but it's a brand new faction that you introduce, so you've got to get a new audience of people to collect them. Or you've got Stormcast, who, yes, are popular, but are nowhere near as popular as a proportion of the player base as Marines are, because there's a number of people who brought across their fantasy armies, or then got over to the updated variant of their fantasy armies, like Lumineth or Ideneth or whatever else. So, probably as a proportion of the player base, Stormcast are just a lot less popular than Space Marines, just relatively speaking, so there's less market to sell Stormcast to. So if they made the same amount as Indomitus, there just wasn't the same demand, because smaller player base and a smaller proportion of it. I guess.
Yeah.
Still, it's good that everyone has had a chance who wanted Dominion to get their hands on it, which is better than not Beast Snaggers.
Yeah.
Ah, well.
Ah, well.
I think that covers the majority of things we haven't answered before, or things that we can't... Oh, no, hang on, caught one here. Right. Dark Mechanicum question. Isn't the Dark Mechanicum supposed to be much more radical than the Adeptus Mechanicus is? And if so, wouldn't they be more open to learning from the technology of other races? Or is it still that they view Xenotech the same way the Mechanicus do, because it doesn't have machine spirits, XD?
I think overall, obviously there's going to be outliers in every faction regardless.
Absolutely.
I think overall there is still a highly ingrained sense of, for lack of a better term, xenophobia in regards to any human faction, because, let's be honest, hey, they may be dirty worshippers of the Corpse Emperor, but at least they're human, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not a very nice way to put it, but it is kind of true.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mechanic.
I think that TTS joke did say that best. There's one thing that unites us all: xenophobia. And had Slanesh show us how the Imperial and Chaos beating the shit out of all the aliens for Christmas.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a very, very gross oversimplification, but that's pretty much the gist.
It is. It's like, we will kill you, Imperium, but that doesn't mean we're going to work with anyone else to do it.
Exactly.
But I would expect if there was a pieces of xenotech per tech priest count, the Dark Mechanicums would be higher. Probably because they just have to scavenge more stuff.
Yeah, most likely. And there's also probably the fact that they might be more willing to work with Xenos races in regards to hey, give us some tech and we can give you some slaves or something.
Yeah, I can see those sorts of deals with the Drukhari or actually just the Drukhari.
It may not actually be the Drukhari because, while the Drukhari are very sick and depraved, they still don't really like, the Chaos Boys.
No, but they're more likely to trade for slaves and resources than anyone else. Cause
there's also Blood Axe Orcs.
But then Orky Tech doesn't work.
That won't stop the Dark Mechanicum, though, will it? It's it'd be fun trying to work this out.
Yeah, just give them a slugger. It's like, so you're telling me that I can't fire a basic orc pistol, and yet the orcs are capable of making death guns that can destroy entire cities. How?
I thought the Blood Axes give the Dark Mechanicum slaves and in exchange for something else.
Yeah, intel, shinies, other loot, yeah.
Here's a couple of bottle caps. Run along now.
Yeah. Here's an Imperial officer's uniform. You're going to need it for your next sneaky mission.
They say this coat belonged to Caiaphas Cain himself. Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, that would work.
God, Caiaphas Cain, the greenest of the Imperium. That's a terrible orc impression. I know it. Don't worry about commenting that in the comment section below.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like, I don't really know what to say in response to that.
You what?
There is a question here of, could Gene Stealer Cult 4th generation or otherwise become a Space Marine? And the answer's no, but It would be fun to see them try.
I mean, in the Belisarius Cult novel, there were some 4th generation hybrids that infiltrated the sides of the Emperor's serfs, but they didn't become full Space Marines.
No, the genetic tampering and stuff would get found out real quick. But
not to mention, you think, why are these new aspirants all bald with heavy bone structure and a cranial ridge?
To which the Space Marines look at each other and go, okay, never mind.
That's the Space War. Space would be like, something, why did you shave? I don't know.
Yeah.
Then you have a Sean Connery spaceman saying, you cannot shave him. It's like, I don't want to shave him. No, you misunderstand. You cannot shave him. That's a reference and a half. Well, I got a face palm. I didn't get a head desk, but I got a face palm, so that's something.
Yeah, take it. Take what you can get with that one.
Any other questions?
What are the AOS Titans? Mega Gargants.
Would they be more akin to Knights, though?
Yeah, I suppose they're more knightly in terms of size and...
As in Night Walkers, not as in Knights on horseback, because AOS actually has Knights on horseback.
Yeah, it does. But there were much a lot... Like Behemoth, for example, was a god beast and the father of Gargants, but then that was... the Mega Gargants came out of Behemoth's mouth. So, also...
Speaking of the Gargants, wasn't there a thing called the Soul Wars where they were fighting over feet or something?
Well, I mean, the Gargants do sort of organise their tribes into stomps, where the leader is the heel, and the further down the foot you go, the sort of lower ranked you are. So definitely that would make sense. I'd have to go and read the...
I just remember there being a great pun of it being called, that the conflict involving the Gungans was called the Soul Wars, basically playing on the pun of the Soul Wars between, Order and Death.
Yeah, I think there is that. I just need to go and reread the Mega Kargets Battle Tome, the Bayonet Battle Tome, just to remind myself, because it's been a few months since I read it, and it is just a short passage.
Did you say that the leader of a Gargant tribe is called the Heel?
Yes.
So does that mean whenever a Gargant gets a sense to leader, they basically turn heel?
I was waiting for you to catch up. I was genuinely waiting for you to catch up on the fact that the leader was called the Heel. And they are very bossy, they are very shouty, they are very smashy, so it fits.
There's only people who don't understand any wrestling references be like, "What? I don't get it."
To be honest, if you don't follow any wrestling references, then you're probably not watching this podcast, given the amount we make per episode these days.
Yeah. Oh well. Anything else?
I think aside from things like video game crossover type things, I think we've pretty much covered the questions. Okay. But that's not to say that there haven't been a lot of questions that if I had the time and had thought ahead, I probably could find 5 or 6 more in comments from other episodes. I'm sure there's plenty buried there that we just don't get time for on any given episode. So if you did leave a question in a previous episode and you would like to ask it again and we haven't answered it, please do leave it in the comments down below with the word question so that we can find it very easily and ask it next time. Because we do have a very, all going to plan, a very exciting guest next episode. It's not Black Library, so I won't give it away. But we do have quite an exciting guest coming next episode.
Yes. As long as they don't get called away for any work-related issues like today.
Yes.
Not the same guest, though, but still.
Yes.
Right, so, unless there's anything else to add?
Could you please release more Beast Snagga boxes, please, GW, because I wanted one? Or at the very least, could you get the codex out as soon as possible, so I could get it, please?
To be honest, once people start receiving their boxes, a lot of people are going to be putting their codices on eBay and stuff like that.
Certainly not impossible.
I mean, that's what happened when remember when the Sabal box set first came out and had the codex in the box set, but we wouldn't get the Master Rocket release for another 3 months? That's how I got my codex. Because someone was selling their codex for £5. I was like, I'll fucking have that, thank you. So just start having a look on eBay from next week. You might actually get a copy of the Alt Codex for £5 or something.
I'll keep a lookout, but also it's a limited edition. If I don't get it, I don't get it. It's fine.
You don't get it. That's what I call limited editions.
Precisely.
So, until next time, thank you very much to everyone who joined us for this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, this has been Remleiz from 40k Theories.
And this has been Tactica Imperialis.
And we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.